With us now from Washington, the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden. Mr. Vice President, good morning.
Hey, Charlie, how you doing?
Let me begin with this. Everybody's talking this morning about how defiant the president was. New York Times says a bold call to action, even if no action is likely. Did the president say to you, Mr. Vice President, we've won 2 elections. We didn't do so well in the midterms. The Republicans control the Congress. But let's go on the offensive. Let's pull it out and go right for the goals that we want. Is there, in his conversations with you, a sense that we're going to be on the offensive for the next 2 years?
No, what the sense is, Charlie, and we work together closely, is it's time to talk about the middle class. Congressman Ernst just said the people have concerns. They have concerns about child care. They have concerns about good jobs. They have concerns about the fact the roads don't work in their area. They're concerned about attracting businesses to come and stay. They're common concerns. Charlie, did you notice that when all the talk about the recovery finally having been solid, all the things the president said in the beginning of the speech, including reducing the deficit significantly, have you noticed an awful lot of Republicans the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks are claiming credit for this recovery? What caused the recovery were the programs that, in fact, we put in place. And all the president's saying is, don't stop the momentum now. You're acknowledging there's real momentum. Now let's keep it going. Let's get the middle class a better deal. And the prelude to this, Charlie, you're talking about taxing the rich. There is one tax that affects trust fund people. If you buy $10 million worth of stock, if you're wealthy enough, and you die, and by the time you leave it to your heirs, it's worth $50 million, you pay capital gains out, except if you have that kind of money and you leave it in that circumstance. They pay no tax. So we're just saying, hey, look, what's more appropriate? To spend $220 billion and give middle-class tax people a tax break? Or continue something that has no productive value, and not a single Republican can give you a good argument why there should be an exception to them paying tax on that.
But they have the numbers and they control the Congress. Don't you need to reach out to them in a way that says, look, we're not just going to present our proposal, but we want to cooperate and find a common ground?
Well, look, I have met with the leadership. I've been having private meetings in my home. 17 Republican leading senators have already talked to me. I've invited them to my home. We're having private conversations. They know what has to happen. What we have to do is keep the focus on the middle class. I believe the majority of the Republican Party still believes in the notion that we have to have the best trained people in the world to attract business and the best infrastructure in the world. They got a lot of outside pressure from particular interest groups, just like the Democrats do. But if we keep talking about this, look, have you ever heard the Republicans use the phrase middle class as much as you've heard in the last year? They get it. They get it. So the idea we're going to stay silent and not talk about the value system, I'm convinced they, in fact, agree on. You know, I looked out at that chamber, and, I like Major a lot, but I saw the Republicans stand an awful lot. I looked out and I saw a whole lot of friends in both political parties. I like those guys.
Let me get my colleagues in, Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Vice President, let me ask you about foreign policy. One of the big headlines last night is the president is asking Congress for an authorization of military force against ISIL. The president said last night to the American people that our military is stopping ISIL's advance. But if you look at the map over the past 3 months, in fact, ISIL has gained more territory in Syria. Do we need to rethink our strategy?
No, what we need to do is double down on our strategy. If you notice, we're making progress against ISIL, they call it Daesh in the region, in Iraq. Because in Iraq, we now have a more unified government. The Sunni, Shia, and Kurds are beginning to work together, and they're losing ground.
Not in Syria, though, Mr. Vice President.
No, let me answer. You asked me, we're losing ground. We're gaining ground in Iraq. Syria, there are no boots on the ground. Syria is a dysfunctional country with nobody in charge. The fact of the matter is we're working with our Arab allies and European allies to begin to build coalitions to be able to take on both Assad and ISIL. And it is a difficult process. It's going to take time. And there is no existential threat to the United States because of what's going on there, but there's a threat in the region. We are making progress. And lastly, the president and I come from a school of thought that says the Congress has an equal say on war and peace. They should step up and say, okay, Mr. President, we agree with you This is the authority you have to go after ISIL in this geographic area within this time frame. It's the best way to do business, to get everybody in on the deal. That's why the president's asking for a new, what they call, an AUMF, that is the authorization for the use of force.
Mr. Vice President,
That's what
could I
it's
ask about the security at your home? You know, shots were fired at your home in Delaware. Luckily, you and the family weren't home. But are you concerned the Washington Post is raising some troubling issues about security there, that there's an issue with your system? Are you worried?
No, I'm not worried. First of all, my house is way off the road. Secondly, there's no evidence it was shot at the house. They found shell casings over a 100-yard length of time, 4 shells. So a car must have been going by at a fairly high rate of speed. It appears someone on the passenger side fired a gun, and my house is on the driver's side. It's about 100 yards away.
Okay.
There's no evidence of anything hitting the house. I'm not at all worried.
Okay, so you don't think anybody's trying to get you?
No, I don't.
Okay, can I ask you?
At least not physically.
All right. Before we say goodbye, what do you make of Deflategate, that 11 of the 12 balls allegedly that the Patriots used in that championship game were underinflated? What do you think of that, softballs?
Well, I tell you what, having been a receiver, I like a softer ball. That's all I can tell you.
Vice President Joe Biden, it's always good to see you, sir.
He must have been a wide receiver.
It's good to see you guys. Thanks. Well, actually, I wasn't bad at it.
Goodbye, Vice President Joe Biden.